Howdy, y'all. Welcome to Sunday Money here at Outsider. I'm Marty Smith. Let's revisit week one of the NASCAR playoff at Darlington, South Carolina, the famed, historic Southern 500. And we'll start with the winner. Erik Jones puts the number 43 car back in victory lane at the Southern 500 for the first time since 1967 when the King, Richard Petty, did it himself. Look, this was a huge win for Erik Jones. It was redemption in a lot of ways. He'd been let go from Joe Gibbs Racing and joins the 43 team and puts them in victory lane for the first time since 2014. It had been a long time since that race car had won a race. It's huge for Erik. It's huge for the King and everybody at Petty GMS. And it's great to see the unbridled joy that Erik Jones had after he won that race. He said it earned him a hat. The King told him, if you go to victory lane in my race car, I'm going to get you a hat. Now, the King has the coolest hat ever. I mean, it's a cowboy hat with a feather on the front. I asked the King one time where I could get one. He smiled that humongous trademark King smile and said, got to win first, son. Now Erik Jones is a winner in that number 43 car. Congratulations to him. Everybody at Petty GMS, the King. Nothing's cooler than seeing the King smile. King in victory lane. It's great for NASCAR. Now, on to Kevin Harvick.
I'm sure it's just the crappy parts on the race car like we've seen so many times. We haven't fixed anything. It's kind of like the safety stuff. We just let it keep going, and the car started burning. And as it burned, the flames started coming through the dash, and I ran a couple laps, and then, as the flame got bigger, and then it started burning stuff up, and I think right there you see all the brake fluid that was probably coming out of the brakes. It burned the brake line, but the fire was coming through the dash. So scary. What a disaster, man. No reason. We didn't touch the wall, we didn't touch the car, and here we are in the pits with a burned-up car and can't finish the race during the playoffs because of crappy-ass parts.
So here's one reason that Kevin was so mad. It's because he and his crew chief, Rodney Childers, have continually asked NASCAR to make change. They have continually said, look, this is going to continue happening. From what I understand from talking to crew chiefs, here is the elementary version of what happened to Kevin's car. Darlington's a very abrasive racetrack. It chews tires up. So all of this rubber is building up, making its way into the rocker box, which previously had no fire retardant coatings on it. And it just gets hotter and hotter and hotter until poof, it catches on fire. And you heard Kevin say it there. When it starts coming through the dashboard, man, you park it and run. Your safety is in question. Well, as a result of that, NASCAR has made the decision that they are going to allow the teams to use some fire retardant coatings on various portions of the race car. I won't get into all the nuance, but it is an effort to try to thwart what happened to Kevin and Chase Briscoe earlier this year. So, I feel like this moment in NASCAR is the greatest collaboration between the governing body, the sanctioning body, which is NASCAR itself, and the teams that race the cars every Sunday. I feel like they have done an unprecedented job of trying to work together to grow the sport. I appreciate that. It's a moment in the sport that needs that. But as it pertains specifically to this race car, NASCAR needs to listen to the teams. They don't have to implement everything the teams tell them to do. They don't have to like every idea the teams say to them. But these engineers and these crew chiefs on these race teams are brilliant. And they know. Now, it was interesting to hear Scott Miller discuss this moment with Harvick and Harvick's comments in the aftermath and say it's ridiculous to assert that we don't care. Because we do care. If they care as much as I think that they care, they need to be working with these race teams hand in hand to make sure that this car is as safe as it can be. We don't want to see any more situations where drivers like Kurt Busch aren't able to race because of how they hit the wall. Kurt's doing a qualifying run at Pocono, hits the fence. He hadn't been in a car since. Just hadn't felt right. If you talk to drivers in the garage area, they'll tell you, yeah, I'm a little bit concerned about the piece I'm driving. To make sure that they're as safe as possible in every way. NASCAR needs to work with these race teams. I know they care about driver safety. I know they do. But it is paramount to listen to the engineers and crew chiefs because they are so smart. And there's a different level of expertise that comes with being in the competitive arena. There just is. And that's what the Rodney Childers of the world can offer NASCAR. They need to listen. The last thing I want to touch on in this episode of Sunday Money is this. Chase Elliott, who began the playoffs as the points leader, finished last in the Southern 500. Wrecked on lap 113, hits the fence, spins out, ultimately finishes last, and currently ranks 9th in the point standings with 2 more races yet to be run in this segment of the playoff. They're going to go to Kansas this weekend, and then it's Bristol Motor Speedway under the lights. Look, Bristol is a wild card. You never know what's going to happen there. Chase has got to run really well at Kansas and make up a lot of ground. Certainly, they have the capability to do that with a number 9 team. He had a great effort at Kansas in 2021. He had a pair of top 5 finishes there, but earlier this year, he did not have a very good run. Finished, I think, 29th or so. So they're going to have to run really well at Kansas to make up this ground, because it's not just they have to run really well. Like, you got to expect a lot of those guys that are ahead of him in the point standings are going to run really well too. So a really important race coming up for Chase Elliott. He was extremely frustrated afterwards, as you would imagine, when asked, kind of what do you guys have to do to make up this ground? He said very bluntly, we got to run better than we did today. And he's right. And they can. All right. That's Sunday Money.